Please turn to Revelation chapter 6. So we've been studying the tribulation period. And last week we talked about the sixth seal. Jesus opened the sixth seal. And just a review from last week. What happened when he opened the six seals was what Jesus called in Luke chapter 21, signs in the sun, the moon, and stars. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 29, he talked about the powers of the heavens would be shaken. And in verse 12 of chapter 6 of Revelation, you see it says, there was a great earthquake. The Greek word for earthquake is seismos. It's more than just an earthquake. The word means a rocking or a shaking or an agitation. It's not only limited to earth. So in Isaiah, it talks about in the day of the Lord that he would shake the heavens. And in Matthew, I quoted just a few seconds ago, said that the powers of the heavens will be shaken. So this is a shaking of heaven, and this is a shaking of earth. And the results of that shaking are what happens to the sun, what happens to the moon, what happens to the stars in verses 12 and 13. He talked about the sun became black, and he compared it to sackcloth of hair. He says, as sackcloth of hair. We talked about that last week. That is a sackcloth of hair was a garment worn to funerals. It's black. It's made of goat's hair or camel's hair. It's not to, when you see things written like that, it's not to so much be so literal or have you get the actual literal point of it. It will be pretty hard to imagine in your mind the sun is black, but it's more as to write it from a human point of view. That's why they compare it to things. That's why they say like or as, so that you can get it. We would know what funeral garments look like. And so he compares it to that so we would understand the meaning of the color. The point is the color. The sun became black, and then he compares the black as sackcloth of hair. Then he says the moon became as blood. I said last week, I'm unsure if that means a color, because he doesn't say it became red as blood. He just says as blood. I'm unsure what that means. And in verse 13, he says the stars of heaven fell to the earth. And we brought up the point. That's not a scientifically accurate statement, because stars can't fall into the earth. The word should be into, not unto the earth. It should be into. Stars can't fall into the earth because they are larger than the earth. Stars are larger than the earth. To us, viewing the stars, they look like dots. But in reality, they're bigger than the earth. They're bigger than the sun, which is 1,000,000 times bigger than the earth. So they're bigger than the sun. They can't fall into the earth because they're larger. Something larger can't fall into something that's smaller than it. They would consume the earth, vaporizes with their heat. But we settled that because of the Greek word for stars. It's aster. It's the word for asteroid. Asteroids can fall into the earth. It's written stars because I said these things are written from a human point of view, not to be so accurate. Asteroids falling into Earth, when they heat up, they glow. We call them shooting stars. They're not stars though. We call them shooting stars though. Because they glow, they look like stars that are falling. So that's the point of it. It's not to be so accurate, but to say that asteroids, which look like stars to humans, fall into the earth. Then he gives it a comparison. As a fig tree casts her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind, the fig tree would drop off its fruit when the wind hit it. And the point of that comparison is when a wind hits a fig tree, a whole bunch of figs drop. So he's saying a whole bunch of asteroids are going to fall into the earth. So today we will look at verse 14. So in verse 14, it says, and the heaven departed, and the heaven departed. Then he gives it a comparison again, so we'll get it. As a scroll when it is rolled together. The Old Testament says that the heavens are stretched out like a curtain. This says that the heaven departed. Remember, this is due to the great shaking. The heaven departed. The Greek meaning for departed is to split. It's kind of different than the word departed. So it's split. The heaven split. As a scroll when it is rolled together. Now, a scroll just means a book. But in those times, here's the structure of a scroll. You take a page like this, and you turn it sideways. And if you had another page, you would glue the next page to the end of it. So you had a long thing of pages, depending on how many you needed. And you would take two rods and put them at the end of the ends of the pages. And you roll them together. And so a scroll was always rolled up. And whatever was written on the pages couldn't be revealed until you unrolled the scroll. You unrolled it one page at a time. Read the page, unrolled the next page. Here he's saying that the sky or space would represent an unrolled scroll. It's stretched out currently. At this time, it will be unrolled or rolled up. So the space will represent pages on a scroll. This is the point. Only when the scroll is unrolled can you see what's on the pages, as the space will be, where the heavens will be. When it's rolled up, the pages do what? Disappear. That's what he's saying. The sky is going to disappear as if they were pages on a scroll when it's rolled up, when it's rolled together. But the word departed is split in the Greek. So the point is, the sky will split and then roll in two different directions, like towards those two ends of the scroll. It's going to roll back in two different directions. And it says, let me read you two Old Testament verses that kind of say the same thing. This is Psalms chapter 102, verse 26. This is speaking about the heavens. It says, they shall perish. They shall perish. That word perish means they shall, it's something or someone disappearing. So it's they shall disappear. In Isaiah chapter 34, verse 4, it says, all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. Saying the same thing. All their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falls off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. So it's saying the same thing in Revelation. Just a quick note. Revelation is always said to be hard to understand. It's not written to be hard to understand. It really isn't hard to understand. Some things that are written in Revelation are just things that are already written in the Old Testament or some things that are already said by Jesus. I said before, if you want to know the whole New Testament, all you have to do is read the 4 Gospels. If you understand the 4 Gospels, the rest of the New Testament is just a repeat of what Jesus said. Maybe worded different, but it's the same thing Jesus said. This chapter 6 in Revelation is the same thing as Matthew chapter 24. Jesus said it first. John is just repeating what Jesus said, just worded differently. He may be more detailed than Jesus was, but he's saying the same thing. The rest of verse 14 says, every mountain and island were moved out of their places. Of course, that source is the shaking. Every mountain and every island, not just some, every mountain and every island will be moved out of their places due to the shaking. Not removed. They're not gone, but they're moved. Where they are now, they won't be at that time. They'll move to a different spot. Later on in Revelation, when you get to the bowl judgments, you have 7 seals. You have 6 seals, actually. And then the 7th seal releases 7 trumpets and 7 bowls in the 7th seal. And one of those bowls says that when the bowl is poured out by the angel, the mountains and islands flee. So at that time, they will actually be gone, no more on earth. But at this time, they'll just be moved from their places. So we can have the idea of looking at a map of Earth. You see the continents. At the time of the 6th seal, it won't look like that anymore. Everything will be moved different places. So those maps will be useless then. And so that is the result of the shaking from the earth and heaven standpoint. That's the result of the shaking. Next time, from the rest of the chapter, we'll look at the effect that the shaking has on men. All right?
Amen.